Okay, you're on.
Am I audible? Do I sound like you can hear me clearly?
Why can't you see me?
I can't see you too well, but I can hear you.
Wave your hand. Yes, I see you move. I see you move. It worked. Nobody moved. Nobody moved from wherever they are. Everybody, all of you are in the right place.
So this is take 12. I don't know. I don't know what the count is at this point. Of stories with Shastri, and yeah, and we're doing an episode with Manasi today, and she just DM'd me. So let's try to tell her that I'm back on this. I don't know how to do this. What do I do? Okay. This is going great. This is going really great. And yeah, I mean, I tried to, shampoo my hair for today, but then the oil just won't come off. Come on. I'm waiting. Oh, the last time I waited this much, trying to teach my puppy her name, okay? How dare you?
Am I still frozen?
No, you're not. Wave your hand. Yeah, done. Done. I got you.
I'm frozen on my screen. Okay, anyway, we're gonna pretend like I can't see that.
No, it's okay. You can see me anyway, so it's fine.
Okay, cool.
How
What's
you
up?
doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm tired. I'm trying to fix my sleep cycle, so that's going great in life. In general, I'm not very fond of it, but I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do, right?
That's right.
So can you tell our listeners a little more about you?
So, I am 20 and I'm a working individual. I recently graduated from symbiosis. I did my master's in, I didn't do my master's, I did my bachelor's in filmmaking in PA.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been working ever since. I mean, I've always been like I recently made that shift from a freelancer to like a professional. Why I'm saying professional? Because most of at least from my experiences, the freelancer life makes you work with like set amount of people. It's a thing between you and the client. Whereas right now I've started collaborating on multiple projects with other artists. So, and we did launch our own company in January called Karigar Studios.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, we've been working with a few giants in the industry, in the animation field. So, that's been quite a ride.
What's that like?
It's very, very different because unlike a lot of people, I haven't really received a formal education in this field. But it's amazing. It's a beautiful experience because you get to learn so much on the job.
Yeah.
You got to do multitasking.
When you say you haven't had formal experience in the field, what particular field are you talking about?
I'm talking about 2D animation,
right,
in particular. So I haven't received any education in terms of design because I studied filmmaking.
Yeah.
Somewhere down the line, there's a big misconception that when you talk about the nitty-gritties, the production line, they're somewhere similar. It's really not that case. Because when you work in an actual film studio or when you're working on a film, there can be close to, say, around 300 people you're working alongside. Whereas if you're working in an animation studio, you will have around a team of 40 to 50 people max. It's more quality control, the animation thing. But I think across all fields, managing people is the thread that ties it all. At the end of the day, it's about the people, not the job.
Yeah.
So that's a big learning I have had recently.
I bet. So what are the various fields that you worked with?
I have explored various mediums in the sense of field. Like I have tried my hand projection mapping, with the entire. It's an amazing technology, when sound can be mapped in the form of visual and presented at a large scale. Pardon?
I have no idea what projection mapping is.
Okay, so projection mapping is basically with the use of a software, you get to map a particular surface in real time, and then the software kind of remembers that particular mapping, and then you can have certain visuals which are displayed on that map surface. So you project it on a surface, and therefore it's called projection mapping.
It's
So
like
it can either
happens in fields. Sorry.
yeah, these are very big scale events. But on a smaller scale, you might get to see these boxes, these cube boxes kept at PVRs and stuff. That's projection mapping. So that's also somewhat done on LED panels.
Right.
So, I mean, any medium you can project map on anything, like a screen, like a movie theater screen sort of a thing, or you can go all out with creating your own environment where you talk about bringing in LED panels, which you must have seen in different gigs, different events, these big stages at music festivals.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's amazing how you can become a part of the people's experience and make them your own. Apart from that, I am a heavy painter. I paint a lot.
Yeah, I know
And
that. Yeah.
so I've been trying to go around the city and like do a little vandalism here and there, and also trying to get paid for doing that. So I did finish my first very big wall was at this cafe called the Good Food Cafe
Yes,
in Kalyani Nagar.
No, wait.
In Korga Park, in Korga Park. Yeah, but like recently, I mean, there's a new cafe in that place. The wall doesn't exist anymore, but I've captured it in time.
Well, that's
Yeah.
good, no? But it must, doesn't it feel odd to, have that thing you created and suddenly it's gone away? It's with
Definitely.
murals.
I have a mental breakdown every time I walk across the cafe.
Oh no.
But but I never really understood why they will repaint over a wall that big. Like it was an entire room, They could have probably just called me up back and said that or like, spoken with the cafe owners, asked them about who's done this. So, I mean, that's somewhere I feel like, our community is not that, like we don't, even if we think we know about artists, we don't. Like we don't know how to talk to them. We don't know what they want. We just think, all we see is the Instagram world where, okay, I've uploaded a picture, I've gotten 100 likes. That's really not the psychology and the game that goes on behind it.
Yeah, that's true. Do you feel like people don't appreciate people's art in general, like people's work? It could also be something as temporary as a mural. But do you feel like that sense of appreciation is not there?
I think there's a lack of knowledge, awareness. Appreciation is there definitely. I mean, you will see somebody's work and you will be like, okay, wow, you created this, but you don't know the behind the scenes of it. You don't have to know how to paint. You don't know you don't have to know how to spray paint and stuff like that. But acknowledging the fact that at the end of the day, I'm a person and I have two hands, and the amount of time that it takes for me to cover a wall that is around 10 by 10 feet, you're literally creating in time. That's the difference between. So I'm also a digital artist.
Yes.
I make digital illustrations. So that's the difference that I see with digital art, where you can easily undo. You can overlay another layer. Like your mistakes are gone in the minute. But when you do it on the wall, when you do it on a painting, it's there permanent.
Yes.
So bringing that awareness in, and I really feel like it works on the psychology of the people around. Like the community is heavily affected by the art that is propagated.
I understand. I'll come back to that. We have a question from Ketan. Hi, Ketan. He asks, do you paint interiors as well? I know you have designed interiors. I don't know if you work on painting with interiors. I don't know what that exactly would entail.
Okay, I think this is a two-way question. One way can be the murals that I did. So yeah, I mean, I do paint murals. And the second question is, yes, I do paint as well. So I was a part of this. I was very fortunate to be a part of this project called Paula. It's a brand made for all sorts of paws. I wouldn't just limit it to dogs and cats. I was involved with the entire branding aspect and it then trickled down into the interior designing part as well. So a very important feature of the interior designing of the store is one of the accent walls, where from my personal experience, I've never seen an interior with a gradient wall, and I was very fascinated by it, because it gives you that cinema 4D effect sort of a thing, where you're in a different universe kind of a thing. So we kind of customized that particular wall. We did like a gradient of orange, shades of orange to pink, and yeah, that was a lot of fun.
So he says, as in a customized wall, like the Avengers on a wall, for example. Sorry, out of creative ideas right now. So she painted the Starry Night at Good Food, right?
Yes. So
Starry
I, along with another former artist, we kind of recreated the Starry Night in our own little way. But yeah, I do customize the wall art and stuff like in real life.
Yeah, I think it was very pretty. I remember looking at that photo and I was just boggled because I wondered how much time that must have taken, man. I can't even draw a straight line without, breaking down.
That's it. You don't have to draw straight lines. You don't have to draw straight lines to be an MC. Don't limit yourself, Sanghamitra.
I've done all kinds of weird paintings and sketches. You should see those. So I heard that you and I, a little known fact is that we were in the same college together before I chose to drop out, which was funny. But I remember I have this distinct memory of you doodling in class. And I think I started doing that and I drew this beautiful hummingbird in class because of that. And also because it's something I used to do separately, but then seeing you made me, want to do it more. And I wanted to understand. I personally always pictured you going into ad.
Okay.
And then maybe because of the design aspect involved with it and because you were so inclined towards design, and I think you took a keen interest in visual communication from what I could see. So what made you go to filmmaking and then move on to pursuing a career in design?
Filmmaking is the most raw form of art you can see.
Okay.
Where when you talk about painting, when you talk about illustration, you have captured that moment and it's on paper, but when it's filmmaking, it's moving. It's movement. Every frame is a painting. There are so many artists, there are so many directors who are artists in their own way. Not traditional trained artists, but when you look at a frame, when you talk about composition, these things are so universal. And when you capture them in a moving format, we as humans get so drawn to these things. Like even right now on this live stream, like you're moving a little, I'm moving a little. We get stimulated. So that's why filmmaking, because it's so much about storytelling. What is the point of us having this interaction with us? About the story of it. I'm not gonna bash the field of advertising. It's a
No, go for it.
because it's just, I mean, see, for a while, for some reason, I think I'm talking from my own experience as a student who was working part-time, where like we enter the industry thinking, okay, I need to make money, I need to do this, I need to work with brands, I need to do that. And slowly you come to a realization that why am I working with this kind of a company? Why am I trying to make advertisements for kids? Why am I trying to sell this to them? So maybe there are people in the industry who are doing it for a better cause, but that's the kind of experience I had with that industry. So that's why I didn't choose to go into ad. That's why I chose filmmaking, and I chose filmmaking over anything any day. It's a beautiful art.
So then, why did you move to design and not pursue filmmaking?
2D animation is a part of it. So the kind of content where it's a medium. It can be anything. It can be 2D, it can be 3D, it can be stop motion. They're all forms of storytelling. Why I did not pursue hardcore live action filmmaking, if you may say, is because according to my life circumstances, I found it easier to get into the 2D animation field because I was always surrounded by illustrators and artists. compared to like hardcore live action filmmakers. There's a lot of, I mean, I really respect that field, and you cannot just step into it. You cannot just attend college for like 3 years, learn filmmaking, and be like, okay, now I'm a filmmaker. You need to have that prior knowledge of how to use camera, why certain films are made that way. And I think that was one of the setbacks in college that I personally faced when I chose filmmaking as a specialization. Because a lot of people came into the college with so much of knowledge. They were already like fangirls of like so many directors, so many movies. And I really wasn't that like, it's normal to not be so into movies and then suddenly, So I don't know, I think my artist inclination went more into the 2D animation, but I wouldn't mind. It's a very different field. Live action, you need to know the artist, you need to know the actors you're working with, you need to have that rapport, you need to be an actor yourself. It's always a pro bono. So maybe because I'm an artist, I'm a digital, I'm an illustrator, I'm a painter, maybe that's why I found it easier to move into a 2D animation field.
Okay, that's fair. We have a question from Yuvraj who asks, do you think people have appreciated the diverse forms of art in this lockdown more than usual?
Of course, they have appreciated diverse forms of art in this lockdown. But that is not because, like, oh, okay, now I discovered this to do. That's because I think for some reason people are more exposed to this digital media right now more than they are normally. And so they scroll more and it's not happening because of the, what do you say? You say organic growth, right? That's the organic reach. It's not happening because of that. I really doubt. And that's not a good thing.
Yeah, I probably agree. Do you think some people, our mental health affects how we consume or how we create art in general?
Definitely. It does. And as I had said, as a community, we're really shaped by the art that we are exposed to.
Yeah.
I think I think it was Miami. People can correct me if I'm wrong. Due to a lot of incidences of, robbery and crime-related cases in the particular area, the emotion, the state of the particular country was so grim that it was like they had just come out of World War or a situation of that sort. And so to combat with that particular problem, the mayor of the particular place, he kind of commissioned a lot of artists to go around and do murals on walls and like do live expressions of these paintings. That really changed the way the community started functioning. That really changed the way the mentality shifted towards things. And that's a very big reason why artists today, I mean, be it a very small painting, be it a digital piece of work, or be it huge murals, be it movies, be it films, art has always been that unapologetic form of expression. And even if you're depressed, even if you're sad, even if you're going through some sort of mental trauma, art therapy is a really great place to find yourself.
Yeah. Have you?
There's another. Sorry, I just want to complete this point. There's another problem with this particular perspective is that a lot of artists kind of get intimidated with looking at other people's work. And I found myself there quite a lot of times where you look at somebody's work and you're like, yeah, I can't create this.
Yeah.
What is the work? What is my work? I'll never be able to work this out. Or can I replicate this? What if I make the same thing? I'll get views. Art is never original. Nobody has ever created original piece of art. Everything is a copy of everything. And I think the best thing that we as people, not even just artists, I mean, you can draw, you can paint, you can do whatever you want to. But when you talk about getting bogged down, getting emotionally stressed out by looking at other people's work, especially during this lockdown period, where a lot of people are facing problems with coping up with the reality of things. People are still trying to grasp in the fact that this is the new lifestyle that we have to live. We should not just put a break to the mind, just calm down. You don't have to always compare and think that my life is not like this, or I'm not being so productive in my lockdown period.
Yeah. I do agree with you when you say that all art isn't original, but do you also agree that, let's say this is an example I've used in one of the previous streams also, that if there is a glass, right, I will probably, like, let's say we're talking about film. I would probably shoot it differently or pan into the glass differently than you would. So would you agree that while art is not original, it can also be original to a certain extent? I do agree with you when you say that all art isn't original, but do you also agree that, let's say, this is an example I've used in one of the previous streams also, that if there is a glass, right, I will probably, like, let's say we're talking about film, I would probably shoot it differently or pan into the glass differently than you would. So would you agree that while art is not original, it can also be original to a certain extent?
This is decision of yours coming from to click that photo, coming from your own personal experiences, right? It's coming from
Yeah.
your own learnings and like
Yeah.
your exposures to things. So for like a clear comparison, you can think about every piece of art as a person. Now we talk about individual people. We can say that people cannot be the same. Like you can't have the same emotions as I do. You cannot have the same perspectives. Like you can have the same perspective, but you can't. There are a lot of things that we have different, and there are a lot of things that we have the same. Similarly, every piece of art is coming from the source. The source is us. And we can never say that, I'm completely original. Like I come from a blank slate and there's nobody like me. Obviously there's nobody like me. But we are a being of another being which had already pre-existed. We're all connected. So we are an adaptation. And in a beautiful manner, obviously, not to like shame the fact. So, I mean, that's what I think about art, be it anything. It's an adaptation. It is original in its own way, but it's important to acknowledge that fact. Because a lot of people bank on it. They're like, oh, this is my original piece of work. And like, nobody's ever done this. And everything is, you've seen it, you've seen something, it's in your head, you're going to put it out in your. It's just good to acknowledge these small things.
Right. I must say that is one of the most satisfactory answers I have ever gotten for any question of mine. I really love it. That's going to go on my thesis.
Awesome.
So coming back to what we were discussing about art therapy in general. Do you have any experience facilitating that?
Not yet, but I am looking forward to getting some education in that field and actively becoming a part of that kind of practice. Because I really feel like as artists in the coming age and time, it's our responsibility to not just bank on people buying our art. That's not the only way we can monetize our work. It's not about what comes out from the hand or from the paint or medium. It's about what's in here, and that's why we are artists. We look at the world differently. We want to help people.
Yeah.
So I think, I would want to venture into that field.
I think you'll be quite good at it, to be honest. I really enjoy watching you paint and your entire process. I've seen you sketch so much, and I think I've seen you paint a few times also. So I hope you do. We have a question. Is it possible to show us some of your work on screen? Like right now?
Maybe you can go check out my feed. There's a lot of my work on the feed. So that could be helpful. Yeah.
We have one more that asks, have you collaborated with musicians to work on a music video? Having an experience in filmmaking and design, would you consider yourself being a part of something like that? I think you missed what we said earlier. Let's repeat that.
So yes, I have worked with musicians. I've collaborated on making music videos. I've also collaborated on a live set. In which during which there's the artist who's playing his music, his particular set, and I am launching live visuals syncing to his music. So I've performed at around 3 to 4 venues as of now, and I'm looking for so much more. I mean, so much music and art go hand in hand because I have come across so many new genres because of these particular collaborations. Coming to the music video, I have collaborated with this indie upcoming underground artist. I cannot reveal his name now unless until our music video live. But we worked together on a 2D animated video, and I think that's going to be like that's something that I'm looking forward to. Keeping in mind the way the animation industry right now is growing. Um, I don't know if you're aware about this, but Kenny Sebastian has collaborated with this artist called Manya Bhattacharya. He's a part of the Ghost Animation Studios. And they have kind of come up with this comic sketch sort of a thing where it's literally sketches of this character talking, mimicking Kenny's voice. So that was something new to see, in the industry where India is still developing. Like when we talk about trying styles or like collaborating with other artists, we somewhere still have this sort of hesitation within ourselves. Like, will I be able to do it? Will I be able to try this style? So coming back to your music video point, yes, that's happening. That's happening.
Yes, so if you have something you want to collaborate on with her, you just have to DM her, and that's all. What is the most interesting music video, like a 2D animated music video you've watched? What's your favorite one?
There's this, I might not remember the name of the musician. I think it's called When I Was Done Dying.
Okay.
So it's basically, it has around 7 to 8 different animators, like styles. He's collaborated with 7 to 8 different animators, and so it's a story of this protagonist. As the song goes, he's talking about how he's having different life experiences, and he's growing out of each. He's becoming a different person, and even in the middle, he has like a slight breakdown. So eventually, the styles kind of progress. And these animators who worked on the video are well-known people in the industry. Even if you haven't heard their names, you must have seen their work somewhere. Like one of the artists has collaborated with Harley Davidson for some of their sketches. And it's not like everything is 2D animation. Some of it is like paper cut animation. Some of it is like stop motion animation. So there's this one part in the video where he talks about his own confrontation with his former self, and the visual is basically of him like in a cocoon, like crying out tears, and he's like in space, and he's looking, I don't know, like he's approached by this entity, and it's a very, like that particular shot really hit me because he's kind of apologizing for being so damaged, and the tears drop, and then the entity kind of blows him. That's the point where he realizes, you know what, I'm limitless. Like, I don't need to be apologetic for whoever I am. So you should definitely go watch it. It's called When I Was Done Dying.
I will. I've actually noted it down. Ayush just helped us with the name out here, so I just wrote it down quietly while we talk.
Okay.
One of my favorite ones, I don't know if you watched this, it's called Changes Everything. And
yes. Is it Tame Impala?
No. Sonlux. I don't know how do you pronounce that. But they have, so that's Sonlux, and they have this thing where, so the lyrics are basically this morning changes everything, and it goes on to show a person's voice screaming, it becomes a clock, it becomes a landscape, it becomes all of that, and at the end of the video you see that these are actually this is actually thread work that was done on a board with nails, which means the amount of time it took, the entire thing was kind of like I think that would count as a stop motion if I'm not wrong.
Okay.
My knowledge towards that is very limited, but and in the end you can see all the little holes in that board that was made for this video. It was mind-blowing. I totally loved it. I think you should watch that. I'll send you the link.
Definitely.
So, Vanilla Bear asks, so are you saying that originality is dead?
It's not dead. Why? I mean, I'm not trying to be an optimistic here. I know you have to think about life and its practicality. That's the beauty of it. When you start associating with things, like sensitive topics like originality, when you start associating with words like dead, it takes you down a very different spiral. that's the point about gratitude. That's the point about noticing small things in life and being happy for wherever you are. Okay, there can be so many debates about how originality is actually there, and there's content creation, and then there's copywriting, and then there's endless number of these fights that are still going on. Okay, for an example, I'll talk about this particular movie called Sita Sings the Blues. It's directed by Nina Pale, I think. Nina Pale.
What's the name of the movie again?
Sita Sings the Blues.
Okay.
So it's what the director's done is she's kind of done a comparison between two stories. One is about Sita and her entire like Ram's confrontation, that entire part where she gets kidnapped and then she's back home and then Ram kind of he says no, like I'm not going to take you back, and she compares it to her life where she experiences that sort of a breakup with her husband via an email.
Yeah.
So that particular movie, she is not an Indian director, but she did a lot of research into this particular style. So it's an animated movie. And there are a lot of blues. The song is basically blues. There's this particular artist that she's featured, and she's singing most of the blues for Sita's part. So that's a very interesting cultural combination that you get to see, where you have the Indian mythological character dancing to a blues song, and then there's this pencil animation of her life. So it's a beautiful creation. I mean, you should definitely go watch it. And she got filed with around, I think, 78 plus copyright cases on that particular movie because of the song, because of the style. People literally bombarded that particular like piece with so much of criticism, and out of everything she ended up making it free. So it has a creative I think it's creative content license.
Yeah.
You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Creative Commons, I think.
So it's basically like it's free, you know she's not going to get copyright over it, even if you replicate any part of it or if you replicate the song sort of a thing.
I think it comes under Creative Commons.
Creative Commons license.
Yeah.
So she, after facing all of that, after facing all the lawsuits, after getting bankrupt and like facing all of this, she decided to come out and talk about it. She started giving lectures about it. Started visiting colleges and talking to them, telling them, there's a way to go about these things. That as artists, be it whatever field, you cannot hold on to your piece of art like it's your freaking baby and you're gonna die with it. You're not gonna die with it. It's in the world. Let it grow. Let it be what it is. Don't think about it as it is your piece. It is your piece. Be it original, be it replicated. Acknowledge it, appreciate it.
So
I hope that helps.
yeah, I hope Vanilla Bear, if you have any more questions, you can ask. So are you trying to say that that it depends on the person what they create, like what kind of a cocktail they create from all the flavors and all the spirits available to them, as long as it's very different if it's plagiarized and listed off directly?
It is. That's the one difference that you see. The minute I take somebody's work and I do not credit them and I do not tag them or acknowledge them, that's the minute I'm not being. You have to be true to yourself. See, whatever you're doing, you have to be true to yourself. You have to ask yourself these questions: that did I originally make this? Is this actually my piece of work? Because it's very easy right now with the digital platform that we are working with, and even if we are born into this. Like we were born when this industry started booming. A lot of pieces prior to this already, like they've been existing for so freaking long. So back then, I doubt there was so much of this plagiarism case that you're talking about. But right now, because it's so easy to like capture somebody's work or like screenshot it and download it or whatever. The minute you don't be true to yourself, that's when you can say plagiarism. That's the time when you can use this tool.
Yeah. But then, plagiarism did exist even back then. Like, let's say with music, maybe not with visual arts. I remember reading this piece about how producers would pay music directors to go and watch Elvis live and come back and
Okay.
replicate that for the movies. So orally
Okay.
became some other song. I don't remember what it was.
Hmm.
So, or you have 100 miles, which got replicated into Tum Dena Saath Mera, the
Hmm.
Hamnaga one, right? So
Right.
I do feel like it did exist somewhere, but would that, take away the credit that is given to, say, the songwriter? I'm still conflicted about something like that. Just because the music director put it in, like, into that mix.
Okay, I'm gonna counter question you on that. Do you think that the impact of that particular song would have made a difference if the director had mentioned this particular source of his inspiration? Okay, if you have to be, if you want to talk about it in like a free artist sense, you can call it inspiration. So do you think that the song would have made a different impact?
Yes, maybe, because after years, people are starting to, because of the kind of information available to us, I see that people are starting to realize, acha, this song is from there. It is lifted off of there. So I feel like had the directors, then it's the music directors at that point said, okay, we've taken inspiration from this. I feel like that sense of honesty would probably be appreciated
Hmm. Hmm.
because these songs don't come under the Creative Commons licenses, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I do
Yeah.
feel that somewhere. And
Like the trust factor, like when you feel
yeah,
cheated on.
yeah. Or you feel
Yeah.
like, okay, I've been humming this, but this actually is from somewhere else. So the person I've
Somewhere else.
idolized
Yeah.
hasn't really, done that. Okay,
Hmm.
so Vanilla Bear says today, if I have a beef with someone, I can easily copyright them as laws on. I can easily copyright them as laws online are very disturbing. I don't know much about. I mean, I know a little bit about intellectual property with photographs, but not with
Hmm.
any other artwork. What do you have to say
Hmm.
to that?
Hmm. I haven't received prior education in this. I haven't done my bit of research when you talk about copywriting laws because it's such a vast topic, such a vast subject, even in
Yeah.
terms of IP. But from the work that I've been working on recently, so we are doing production, we're doing full-fledged animation production for channels like Roku and GTV for kids and stuff. So when we're working on that kind of content, everything, like all our transactions with them are done via a particular medium. Everything has a watermark on it. Nothing can be taken down. Even when they are approaching us as a studio where we are delivering a test to them probably. So that also needs to go out as a watermark because that can easily be like the file can go via because it's digital and anybody can copy it down. So when you talk about, I can talk a bit about the intellectual property thing. The only thing I can say for starters is do your research. If you have to put something out, do your research. Don't wait till an experience teaches you something. Don't wait till the point where, okay, I've been careless, I've been putting out my work, I've been sending stuff, and then suddenly one day you wake up to your stuff being out somewhere. Or in case you do find yourself, let's not hope that you ever find yourself in that position, but in case you do find your original piece of work somewhere, confront the person, talk to the person, educate them about these things in case they're not. And if they're not ready to own up to it, then be vocal about it. I mean, that's what we do. We're so adamant on being so vocal about things these days. So why not talk about these issues?
Yeah, probably. Moving on, Simran Kulkarni asks, do you think that this lockdown has opened up more opportunities for visual artists or animators as that is an execution style that people might opt for as they're unable to shoot actual footage?
I think you're a better candidate to answer this question.
I don't know. I feel like yes, maybe. I genuinely think that I see myself going to different forms of art than what I would do with the opportunity of going out. Most
Hmm.
definitely. But what do you
Hmm.
think? Because I'm not the animator here, nor am I technically. I would come under visual artist, but not really.
Visual art is anything visual. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
When you
Technically, I am onto you, but then I want to know what you think.
it's a very dicey situation, honestly, because we don't know we don't know the time period till when this particular lockdown is going to last. So we don't know till when we're going to be exploring these mediums. Now, for example, when you talk about TikTok in comparison with Instagram, TikTok was primarily made for that kind of originality. Like no filter, no pre-edit. You just go live and you have like you have like your whatever mimicking thing. You have fun. That's why it was made. It wasn't made thinking the kind of reputation that it got in India a while ago. It wasn't made necessarily for that kind of stuff because a lot of companies, a lot of influencers, it's a huge market for them. And that particular platform is booming so much because of this originality of it. So I'm sure that there are a lot of mediums that people are getting into, and because they're spending more time with themselves, less distracted, exploring more stuff about them, what they want to do. It's a great thing. We're utilizing these platforms, but I really wish that we still were such active content creators. We still remain such active content creators after the lockdown. That would be very interesting to see when we go out back in the
I do get that. I understand that perspective quite a bit. We have Pius. Oh, how are you, Pius? I hope you're well. Pius asks, as an artist, do you have a particular genre in creating a particular design or an animation?
I wouldn't want to kind of confront myself, stop, put myself in that kind of a box. I mean, I look at it like it can be completely like a different perspective for somebody. So from most of my experiences that I've come up with, I've always had this for a very long time. I've had the struggle of being in one, having a style, having like one selling point of yours, and then marketing the shit out of it, like monetizing the shit out of that one particular style. And for a very, very long time, I struggled with like identity issues because of that. Because so many people always keep telling you, that you should stick to one thing. You shouldn't be the jack of all trades. You should have one medium and you should ace it and so on. But it's okay to not have that little time. Because you can be so fluid. You can be so versatile. Definitely, there are certain things that are different about my practice or my. If you go to the technicalities of my work, you can definitely differentiate between Manasi stroke and Sanghamitra stroke.
Yeah.
But there's so much more than that. There's so much more than just a style and just like a genre to make this fit in. Yeah.
So he also asks, how does your visual approach change with respect to the genre you're working on?
It's mostly about how it makes me feel, I think. I mean, I also do quite a bit of research on the genre. It's not just off the hat, like, okay, I'm listening to metal and I'm seeing like pink or black, and I do a bit of my research to make it as till an extent where you can find yourself relating to that piece of work. I haven't really delved into like the shock. So there are various movements ongoing in the art community, where people are creating art to shock you. So when you look at it, it should encapsulate in your brain. They play on the entire psychology of our attention span and all of that. So it really differs as to what the artist actually wants. So as of now, like so far, I haven't, in my own pieces of work that I'm making myself, be it in any genre, be it in postmodern, be it in contemporary, I have tried to stick to the core, the basics of the core. Like, if you talk about skin color, I haven't really experimented in those things. But when I'm collaborating with another artist, it's very interesting to see how their mind and my mind kind of fuse together. Where I bring my experience on the floor and they bring their experience. It's amazing. So you have to research. Do not do it off the hat. Listen to the music when you're collaborating with music artists, especially because they're making the music with certain knowledge, with certain learnings of their own and understand what the music is. Take it from them, make it your own, and then you can, like, there's no limitation. How you want to show cyberpunk in pink and blue, you want to show cyber. Example. Okay, now when I talk to you about cyberpunk, can you imagine cyberpunk in like a yellow, like a just yellow, like a roundy yellow?
See, you're talking to a person who can correlate yellow and pink with psychedelic music or even black.
Okay,
So for me, it's
okay.
like I can create anything with that, and I would probably create a more somber thing with maybe if I'm listening to say down tempo or something. So, but yeah, cyberpunk for sure, yellow. I would definitely.
Okay, but like, would you associate it with like black and white?
So I come from the school of thought that I feel like it depends on what state of mind you're in at that point. So that's
So, like another thing I feel is when you talk about, like, again coming to music, music is a like a big field. It's versatile, but it has its certain principles because it fits in certain cultures, and there's a reason why it's trending in a particular time, not trending. The reason why it's striking a certain chord with the viewers.
yeah.
So it's important to have that prior knowledge about that culture. For an example, psychedelic. So it's easier to relate to the crowd as to what the artist wants to convey. With
Yeah.
this medium, we're the medium to creating art. It's about that.
Okay. My mom asks, could you move yourself or the camera so we can see your face? Expressions add to the experience.
She's true. It's true. It's nice. So cute. Hi, auntie.
Yeah, you'll hear her later after we talk again. So, Ayush asks, how was your experience working as an art director on various short films in college?
So I have this very memorable experience from the short film. I actually worked with Ayush, who directed it. It was this project called Almost Together. And so when I talk about any form of art, not just being about the form, but about the people, it's really the people who make the project. And okay, talking about art directors, there's only till a point where you can sit in a room and ideate. Okay, the wall should be this color, this certain prop should go in front of this, the lighting should be this way, the mood should be set in a particular way. You can visualize in that particular room, on that paper or on that software or whatever, till an extent. At the end of the day, you have to step on the set. You have to work with the owners of the property. You have to work with your assistants. You have to source things. You have to make sure in the end, like, everything is set in the frame. You can constantly be looking at the frame, making sure there's nothing wrong. Because little do we know about the film industry is that when you talk about every frame of painting, I think Sanjay Leela Bansali is a great example for this sort of a thing, where he himself loves textiles. He's heavily into that sort of a field. So when you really look at his films, and like when you step back from the entertainment aspect, the emotional aspect, and take a visual look at the film, you see the way he's overlayered things. You see the way how certain textiles bring a certain emotion to the film. So as an art director, I think that was my one most memorable project where I kind of moved out from that freelancer phase, like I'm alone, and I can do this on my own. You can have to work with people, and they really made the film whatever it is. Be it small things contributing. So I think that's another good example of how people at a lot of people have experiences where they work with high industry professionals. People at a very high pace, and they're very, rowdy. They don't give a shit about you, and they'll be very rude to you. They've had those experiences because somewhere down the line they've developed that mentality, that culture, because they work with about 100 to 200 people a day. Managing those 200 people a day, making sure your ideas are being put through, it's a huge task. But when you're starting at a small scale, you have to always keep this, especially when you have people working with you or for you. You have to always keep in mind that putting your idea across is one thing, but imposing it on them is another thing. You
Yeah.
should always be open to that, collaboration going on
Yeah,
with
to
the
be
director.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hi Sama, she says, so glad to see you too. Best wishes, looking forward to some great conversation. How you doing? Um, also, so Shubhankar asks, can you ask that banana and duct tape question? So this was a question he asked in one of the last few episodes, the recent ones. There was some, I think there was a piece, an art installation someone created with banana and duct tape, and I think it was considered to be a masterpiece of some sort.
Okay.
And I don't really know what it was. Shavankar, you will have to ask that question again. I'm not sure what exactly that was. I don't remember it, but we'll come back to that. Coming back to, people being, rude or crass towards you and your work. How do you stand your ground when it comes to, being treated or even being commissioned with what you think you deserve?
Very important question because um, I did not have a common mentor when you talk about going into the freelance field and representing yourself as a solo illustration and a solo graphic designer, videographer, whatever. So I've done all, like I've done videography, I've done editing, I've done illustration. I mean, whatever I could get my hands on, I've done. And in all of these fields, commercials has been a super tough thing for me to deal with the longest of time. So it was always about, I think my lack of research, let's say, on this particular topic kind of made me a little unsure as to where do I grade my work. But the more I started doing it, the more I started creating, the more I started understanding that this is the value I can provide to you, the more I started holding my ground. You know what? This is the particular amount that I charge for this, and if you cannot afford it, I'll be willing to help you to someone else who can. But there's only to the point where I can really negotiate with you. Because when I come on board, I don't come on board as one person. I come on board as 10 people. So, and it's very important. Okay. I'm going to talk for girls here. I'm not trying to be sexy, okay? But as a girl in this industry, I have faced a lot of issues with people trying to just negotiate the cost for me. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, just I'll do it for free. Don't even pay me. Like, what is the point of either getting a graphic made, either getting a logo made, either getting a wall mural done, either getting videography, either getting branding done. So it's very important as to the kind of there are certain responsibilities to maintain in this thing. First of all, from the artist perspective, you need to know what kind of people you are entertaining, what kind of clients you are entertaining. I know everybody has desperate times where there's shortage of money, you're surviving on your own, you're living away from home. And I have been surviving on my own for around 4 years now. I have had even financial help from my parents apart from paying my educational fees.
Yeah.
So I get those points, but do not like stoop down to those things. And even if you are going to stoop down to those small scale projects that get you involved with dealing with people who don't really know your art, be professional. Even if you're not, you have to put up that image of yourself that, okay, this is what I do, this is what I represent. This is the fee for it. If you cannot afford it, I'll help you with somebody else. But be polite, don't be like outrageous. So yeah.
I get it. I will come to that. We are, nearing the end of this timer, so I'm going to start another live video in like 2 minutes.
Okay.
But let's just start with the banana bit, and in the next one, those of you who are, listening, please join in because we're going to talk about being women in this industry. Because I actually have a question about that.
Awesome.
So basically, someone duct taped a banana on a blank white wall, and it's sold for $120,000. How is something like that justified? Because sometimes weird art pieces in movies actually do make a lot of sense.
It's a very sensitive subject about art being objective and subjective.
Yeah.
Because I've seen a lot of I've seen a lot of pieces looking meaningless to us, seeming meaningless to us, and getting sold for a lot. And there's been some really weird stuff on the internet. When you talk about art on canvas that I have,
Yeah, don't
for
go
some
down there.
reason, looked at.
I would not
But,
go down on it.
But you know what? It's interesting to see what people can bank on. To like the want of us to want like have a possession of something that we will put so much money on it till a point where that particular object loses its meaning. So going back to having certain pieces in movies which do not actually make sense at the first glance, but then later when you research about it, it makes a lot of sense to you. Who is researching? You are researching. So of course it's going to be subjective to you. The filmmaker is making it for you, but he is not like going to give it to you. You can only grasp it if you have that prior knowledge to it. So you can assume meaning of art. It's like that typical thing I always came across in my literature classes, where the writer talks about the curtains being blue, and then the teacher like assumes that he's depressed because the curtains are blue.
Yeah.
You cannot put that assumption on somebody else's piece of work and then make it a generalized thing. You cannot generally say, okay, this means this piece is sad or this means that's the beauty of art. That's why certain paintings, certain pictures move you. They make you cry. And when you think about it, looking at a picture, you're going to cry. It's like why should I? That's the thing. The only tipping point is when people start monetizing this stuff. And today it's money, tomorrow it can be anything. Ages ago it was like, I don't know, stones, artifacts or something. But when you want to grab a possession of something and make it seem like, okay, you know what, I want this because it looks so valuable to me. I think that's the point, that's the edge. You have to know that line and not get into that line, because I've seen so many spoof videos where people are trying to fake it into MoMA. It's an art gallery, it's a very renowned art gallery, and they're trying to fake it and do like random pieces. And the saddest part is they're just faking it. It's not like they're actually putting in like thought and efforts into it. And then there are so many uh, experiences out on the internet. You can look it up on YouTube, dude, like where people are going and visiting these exhibitions of artists who have like just red stains on like a canvas or like a red circle on the canvas. And they're being sold for like lakhs and lakhs, and people are just like, what is this shit? What does this mean? Why? That's the part where art makes you stop and rethink, like reconsider. Maybe don't pay for it. Maybe don't bid so much for it. It's like bidding for people. It's like prostitution. What is the point?
Yeah. I agree. I don't know if my mom's emojis were on purpose or by mistake. So I'm just going to leave that to conjecture. And okay, now let's just start a fresh video and let me save this one. So all of you listening, join back in, please. We love you. Okay,
Bye.
bye.
Yeah.
Okay, so
back.
yes, coming back to I think I lost you again. Okay, you're here. Coming back to something you said about people being crass, I want to understand. Do you think you have an added advantage or a disadvantage when it comes to being a woman in the industry? Because I know I have a certain advantage and disadvantage, so I want to understand where you stand on that. Like people bargaining for your fees or your work, or not giving it that kind of importance.
I think we always have to, when it comes to being an original content creator, to the point you always have to fight for your art. And I don't know why this needs to be like a topic we all should keep talking about women and how we face more problems than men do. I'm sure like a lot of guys have also faced multiple issues. Just like for some reason we always go down that lane where we check and we're gonna get like objects. They will be gonna be looked as an object, like not gonna be appreciated for our work and the position that we hold, and how people feel sometimes intimidated by what we do. and how we do it and how we project ourselves. And that kind of gets affected into the way we create and the way we market our work. So I really want this ideology, this particular frame of thinking to kind of stop. And the most important thing is we suffer more not because of the clients that we have, be it like the male uh, company sort of thing. We also suffer because of the female support that we receive, the shaming that we kind of get, or the fact about, oh my god, like she's putting herself out there so much, like she really wants to get it on, or like why is she doing this? Why can I not work with her on this? So as okay, when you start viewing us as like a minority, we're not a minority. We're empowered, like we're living in the 21st century. But when you talk about like be so vocal about the issues that we're facing, supporting each other in this is the first step that we should be taking. That is where even you must be thinking like this is something that I have experienced so far. Female clients, women are way more open in communication with me.
Yeah.
They are way more, like vocal about their ideas. And why is that not the case with any other male artist or male freelancer? It is a very sensitive place to be because we're always in like the spotlight. We're at the forefront. We're always driving our own boat sort of a thing. And so when these comments all come, they come at us, like be it from the clients, be it from friends, be it from people on Instagram. So I wouldn't say that we hold like a lower position or we have like the more struggle sort of thing in this, but I just think we should be more conscious about it. And if you are facing this sort of a problem, if there's somebody who's not valuing your piece of work, then tell them, dude. Like I don't like most of the problems that we face today is because we settle for less.
Yeah.
We settle for things that we know are damaging us. Be it in art, be it in personal life, be it in anything. And the minute you step your foot down and say, you know what, I don't deserve this, I'm worth more than this, that's the point where, you get out of your own cage sort of a thing.
I understand, and you are very right. I think it takes, but then I feel like also it doesn't it take a lot of time for a person to be able to do that because, like we discussed earlier, there are certain times where you just need work. So then you end up putting up with all kinds of stuff. But then there are some times where in my case, I have been lucky enough to be able to call out clients on their bullshit. And tell them, call a spade at that point. But then I don't see a lot of other photographers or a lot of other visual artists or designers, graphic designers. My god, the kind of treatment they go through is not even funny. I'm so glad I'm not one. So
hey, come on.
I'm sorry. No, I mean once for working with. I don't know how to save myself from that one now. But I basically mean that you have to those minute changes, right? And there are a lot of them. When I say they don't, it takes them a lot of time. I feel like someone who knows the trade would probably know that okay, after 2 corrections or re-edits, the next ones are charged. The other ones are chargeable. So then the others don't do it. They're still getting paid like 500 or 300 a creative, and not for the 500 and 300 changes that the client made to them. So don't you think it also comes from a sense of experience and also maybe privilege of some sense?
Yeah. So to talk about in the micro sense, to talk about graphic designing as an industry, experience does play a role in both ways. Be it when you're putting out a budget to the client regarding the fees, and when you're actually working on a piece, because that's where you can differentiate between an actual experienced artist and like an amateur, like a starter beginner. I've been there. Everybody is a beginner. I'm still a beginner in a lot of senses, but certain like skills you have to train your brain to recognize. For an example, let's talk about composition. Let's talk about alignment. Very small example. A lot of graphic designers have faced this problem and are probably crying right now listening to this. But when you talk about aligning the logo with the text or centralizing the text or putting it on the right, putting it on the left, the kind of content we are consuming is made by people who, okay, like nothing have I come across yet where I've come across like an Indian platform which is as big as the future. The future is basically this design media agency where they not only cater to a lot of clients in terms of branding, graphic designing, they also put out a lot of content. And the CEO, the founder of this particular company, is such an influential person because he talks so much about how we should respect our own art, and we should become like professionals at the work we do. Because when you talk about graphic designing, there's no okay, you can quickly differentiate between the photographer who's an amateur and a photographer who is not an amateur. And you cannot be like changes cannot be made live while you're shooting. Compared to a graphic designer, where most of the time, sometimes clients are sitting with you, sometimes clients are on call with you, sometimes you're having like 4 and 5 back and forth. It's a live project. So you need to be that you need to put yourself into that experience state where a lot of artists, a lot of graphic designers get frustrated. They're like, this client doesn't understand only what design language is. They're making me do this shit for no reason. Like, what is my life? I'm getting frustrated over working with one guy for $500. But that's when you have to stand up for yourself. You can tell the client that, okay, the quality that you are expecting from me is not worth $500. And if you want me to do so many changes, you need to know, okay, in that moment, okay, this client is asking me for more than one change. So I need to bring this point up with them that, okay, I understand that you want me to change the complete style. Let's sit through. Let's talk about it. Let's understand what you exactly want before just diving straight into it. Like you have to understand the person. You can't just get married to somebody and then, okay, now I'm going to like live the rest of the life with you and then we're going to get into a shitload of fights and I'm going to ruin my life because you don't do that shit. Like at least I hope, okay, I know a lot of arranged marriage stuff happen, but people is the wrong example. I'm going to think about a better example. Okay, you're going to surgery, for an example. When you go into surgery, think about it, right? You don't just go to the doctor and say, okay, cut my stomach open. There is something wrong with my kidney. You have to go through the process. The doctor gets to know you. So similarly, you have to get to know the client. And I think when you put yourself out there, when you say, okay, you know what, before we start with the project, like, okay, I understand you want a logo. I understand you want a branding, you want a graphic design done. But let's get more into the conversation of what is it exactly that you're looking for. Because there's a reason why these clients are coming to us. Because they don't know what they're looking for. We do. So I feel like as professionals, we are obliged to understand that, take that up professionally, because I'm sure you must have noticed, a lot of like these very high position people, be it law, be it art, be it doctors, they really want to sit down with the client. They really want to sit down and understand what you actually want. And that's how they make quality products. So you have to really, even if you're starting out, like own up to that shit. Like, okay, you know what? I'm starting out. I cannot take on this really big project in which I'm gonna like screw myself up. Be honest about it. Tell the person that this is the limit. Let's take this is the qualification that I have for this. This is what I can deliver at this much cost. You have to always have the money discussion. The money talk is so important in the beginning. Because is it okay if I share my personal experience? Are we running out of time?
No, we're not running out of time. It's called Stories of Shastri. You're sticking to the brand. Go for it.
Okay. Cool. So, like one of my experiences with this music video was that when I had approached the artist, he was not looking for a 2D animated video. He was looking for a story. And I sold the idea to him that, you know what, instead of making it like a live action thing, make it an animation thing. Because in the Hindi industry, in our Bollywood industry, there isn't much animation stuff done. So it will be nice. It will really stand out in the competition. And so that's how I brought out my own idea to him. He has zero knowledge, zero background in this particular industry. And so all he understood was he got excited about the story part. Like all clients love to hear about their brand and how you portray it, how it's gonna look and everything. But when it comes about the money, they stop picking up the calls.
No.
I faced that with him. I faced a back and forth. like a cat and mouse chase with him, dude. Like, and till after a point, I was just like, why am I doing this? Like, I had already hired a team, we had already been on the project. My contracts weren't signed, so that was one learning that I had, that I had to get my contract signed before I moved.
No matter what.
Yeah, and he ghosted me outright, and I was like, dude, how how am I to deal with this issue? So I tracked him down and I confronted him and I told him, what, if you're not able to financially fund this project, please find you a partner. Like, let me help you make it. Don't just give up on this. Just because you think that okay, it doesn't have potential. So you have to really believe in your. That's the risk that I took initially, Sangha, with this. It's not like, I settled for like my budget for this particular film was around 1.5 lakh. Okay. And it's not like I'm settling for it. I'm settling for like a 30,000, 40,000 kind of a budget for it. Because I knew the people were involved in it and the financials. I should have like 1.5 lakh, knowing he cannot fund the project, getting a partner on board is still fine. That kind of product going out, the quality of that product is worth like around 5 to 6 lakhs. But understanding the client's limitations, that also you have to consider. Because we're at the end of the day, we're service providers. Be it whatever. Even if the client is ghosting you, reach out to them till the point where, you understand why this project is not working out. So when I actually sat down and I had a confrontation, he was all in for the quality and the quantity, but the money was the issue. So I found out a solution for him. I got a partner on board. The partner contributed. Then money started flowing in. Work started moving. We were in the middle stage of production. He started coming over, taking a look at the, works and everything. And then in the middle, he decided to change the track, which we were animating on. And animation, let me explain you. Animation works on frames. There are 24 frames per second. And so that means 24 frames are drawn by hand. And this particular video was for around 3 minutes. And so we animated on the beat of the song and everything. And then he was like, I want to change the track because one of the guy who was involved in the music production got defamed for some case he got filed against some. There was I'm not exactly sure what it was, but some friend of his spoke out about his behavior, his misconduct in public. And he got like a part of this entire controversy sort of a thing. So the music producer decided, you know what, I don't want to be associated with this guy, so I'm going to change the track. So I said, okay, cool. You know what, your decision. It's a great thing you don't want to be associated with situations, scandals like this, whatever. Go for it, change it. And so then we decided that we will make the animation on the track that he had already given us. We'll show him the video and then he'll make a new track on it. And if you actually think about it, this project has taken me a year to complete.
Yeah.
A year.
I have a feeling I know who this music producer is, but go on.
So 4 months to recruit the right people, because that's so important. And I'm so grateful to have worked with the people that I did get to work with. And 7 months of production, hardcore animation production. And I started this project back in Feb last year. And we are still in the sound phase. We're still in the music production phase. So and the fees are paid. The fees are being paid, and all the financial part is being done. But you really have to if you know that certain project is of a certain capability, and you as an artist are bringing in so much, and there's if you think that okay, financially he can't pay, you have to be smart about it. So, for an example, if you're working with a celebrity, and contradictory to her social title, she does not have enough funds for the photo shoot. But you know that the photo shoot has a lot of potential. How are you going to deal with the situation?
I didn't hear what you said after that.
How are you going to deal with the situation? Is my question.
I think I would probably work. See, when it says potential, it has to be a mutual benefit from where I see it. It will have to not just be the person benefiting, but also me. If the person, cannot monetarily be of I wouldn't say use, but I would say, be able to commission my work.
Hmm.
So I will have to gauge that on a lot of other things like where am I going to use these photos? Will this be digital? Will this be print? Does this person, am I giving this person the authority to use these photos for press releases, for any statements? Because I look at every individual as a public figure
Right.
or as a part of an organization of some sort, which is also a public organization. So it mostly, I feel like I avoid doing it, but then I think in 60% of the cases I won't, and maybe 40% I would.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I won't, if it's getting out of hand to a point where I feel like, I'm not getting reimbursed for my time.
Hmm.
Because while photography means playing with light, you have a limited number of, you have a limited volume of light that is available to you in one day, or in a day's work, or a week's work, a week's worth of work. So if I go through that entire thing where the thing is styled completely, I have all my props in place, I have, let's say I'm doing a fashion shoot for a garment company, right, for a particular person. If at the end of it I don't have, uh, towards the end of the first week, they go like, I don't know,
Hmm.
I don't, then I will probably, just lose my marbles. I won't be able to, I'll try to talk to them. I will, for sure. But then after a point, I won't be able to. I have this one client who I would show this person the photos as soon as I shot them. Because this person was kind enough to, come for shoots. And he was like, yeah, it's damn nice, all of that. And then he would, select. So in my head, I've mentally, blocked out what are the photos he likes. Because somewhere that comes a little easier to you. And after when we're sitting to post process, and I post process the selected photos, it was like, oh, I don't like these, can you show me other options? And then he'll pick what he didn't pick while I was shooting. So I feel like even though you need to understand your client's limitations, I would really think that the client, it would be very beneficial in the first place if the client knew their own limitations, because it is a two-way street. I genuinely believe it's a two-way street.
And how do you think you're going to show the client his limitations? Or you're going to make them aware about them?
I would actually tell them, it is very difficult for me to deliver what you want if I don't know what you want, or if you don't know what you want.
So that's the work, that's the principle of your workflow, which
Yeah.
as a professional you need to, put out. Otherwise you can get exploited outside. It's like,
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've had people trying to, bargain with me as I'm selling vegetables. It's hilarious. And these are people who can very well afford to pay me 5 times more than what I'm asking for.
yeah.
So it baffles me. I said, why are you doing that? It's really true what they say. The rich stay rich by not spending. But it's quite strange. Where do you think we are, when it comes to accepting art and design as a full-fledged profession and not a hobby?
That is where you differentiate between art and design. When you talk about an artist collaborating with a brand, it's looked at it in a very different way. When you talk about design being incorporated in the brand, design is it's a way of life. There's design in everything. Design is the most utilitarian utilitarian concept so far.
Yeah.
The chairs we sit on, the homes we live in, the clothes we wear, everything
Yeah.
is a principle of design. So when you talk about art, it's more about that subjective, objective aspect. So I can give you an example. Gucci collaborated with this particular illustrator. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. I think it's Mr. Montreal. I'm not sure
Okay.
of the name, right? But guys, people can go up and look it up on YouTube timeline. So he's an illustrator by profession, and what he's done is he's illustrated models wearing Gucci apparel, and he's given it a bit of like a motion movement to it with some like crazy sound and stuff. So it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
it gets perceived as art. But if Gucci had to do the same thing as a part of the editorial by hiring an illustrator on board, it wouldn't have received the kind of attention that it did receive because it's being done by a solo artist, not a designer. So you need to really understand which stream you're going into. Because I don't see a lot, like I don't know if a lot of people are like that educated in this particular differentiation between the two. Like bottle designing is not art; it's design. It's art incorporated design.
Yeah.
So it's really important to classify it.
But I don't feel like people have, that kind of exposure, education towards, or even to have that capability to be able to make that differentiation. Because a lot of times, even in school, right, we're taught that art and design just come under one subject. Is there, uh, they're probably the tributaries of the same river. So,
Yeah, I mean that's like the downside of our education system. But if we can sit and like consume so much of nonsensical content online, it
yeah.
doesn't really make sense at all as to how you can put banana and honey on your face and your face suddenly is glowing. Like wow, if we can sit there.
I've never done that.
But come on, I'm sure you're guilty about going through this. That sort of
I've
story.
gone through it. I've gone through like different hacks and all. Like I just before this today, I put on like a nice herbal face pack. I'm chilling. I put oil in my hair and I'm chilling and I'm texting you here and there. But
Exactly.
it, I understand what you mean. Do you? But yeah, I guess you're right in some way. But I'm still trying to understand how far have we come along. When it comes to being able to understand, and not ask a person, okay, what do you do when you say I am an artist, I'm a visual artist, and then I say, acha, wo theek hai, but actually kya karte ho? Because yeah, ये तो hobby है ना, but I don't understand that mindset of calling it a hobby. So how far do you think we've come when it comes to changing that mentality or that idea of what it is?
we're in the time, as I can say, because I've been following this community culture emerging a lot from Bombay. There has been coming from Calcutta and other parts of India as well. But I've seen a major rise from Bombay with artists on board like Kajal Rajat,
Hmm.
and the Duck. These people have ended up collaborating with really big names like what is that? Anurag Kashyap. You know what I'm talking about, right?
What?
Anurag Kashyap series on Netflix.
Which one? He's done
I
multiple. There's one
just
is
forgot the name. With Saif Ali
the
Khan in it. Sacred Game. I was gonna say
Sacred
Hunger
Game.
Game. Sacred Game.
I haven't watched.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I
Huh.
mean the design aspect of it
Yeah.
is being done by Kajal Rajat. Now, when you are working for a client or a specific medium, what they want, when you're initiating their response, that is design. Because you're working
Yeah.
for them, for their vision. When you're doing something for your own vision, from your own vision, there's your own interpretation, that's art. That's the difference right there. So
Yeah.
when these artists decide to take their style and monetize it for somebody else and make it design, I think that's a big step,
Hmm.
as a community. And reaching out to a platform like Netflix, getting
Yeah.
recognition by the upcoming comedians like Kenny Sebastian.
Yeah.
I mean, we're reaching there, we're doing it. Like, we're going to become like. There's only one downside that I see to this entire trend is that um, we are still being very protective as to who I want to collaborate with,
Yeah.
what kind of music artist I want to be like seen on whose page I want to be seen, what's the Instagram algorithm, how many followers I'll get. You don't have like these people when they began working, they did not sit and like think, okay, I will like systematically like differentiate between who's successful, who's not successful. The more amount of work you do is equally proportionate to the kind of like expertise you build on that field, even if you're not from that particular field. I am not an animator. I haven't had formal education in animation, but I've worked so much now in that industry. I haven't had any sort of graphic designing education, any sort of branding, advertising. Yet at the age of 18, 19, I was working as a professional brand manager. I was recreating brand manuals. I was doing interior designing. I wasn't a part of interior designing, but I did it because I studied about it. I researched about it, and it says a lot. Where today, if I can independently, a 19-year-old can go up to a client and say, okay, you know what? I think I can do this for you. I can design this brand for you. I think we're reaching there. Like we're moving as an industry. We're moving. It's just that we still have to find that like balance between doing it for the fame and doing it because we want to do it.
Yeah, I get it. I like how you were trying to very hard to control your laughter earlier. And so, coming back to talking about the stuff we're consuming online and the Instagram algorithm, when we spoke in the previous stream, we discussed how our mental health really affects the art we create and consume. So, there's something I've always wondered is that how they talk about, like how you get these Amazon ads right after you've checked it out throughout, or you've spoken about it, it shows up on your Instagram feed. Do you feel like the kind of things that you say or you text or you talk about, only those or the kind of art you constantly look at, that's what keeps showing itself? And do you feel like you're being kept away from an entire different world?
I mean, you have to consider the point where the algorithm is only going to show you what you already consume, what you're clicking on, because like they have this system of understanding when to release a particular product and what kind of an audience is going to get hooked to that product. So they categorize the target audiences where they have like people who are going to be excited about the product, they can use the product, be it Instagram, be it TikTok. Then there are people who are going to experiment with the product, really get into the life. Then there are people who are going to treat it as a fad, like the user and then there's whatever. And then there are people who are going to really make it trend. So when we are, as you have to think about it in terms of Instagram being a product. When they're marketing to us, be it Google, be it all these integrated platforms and systems, if you feel like you are being marketed only a certain type of content, go to a different platform. Explore other options, research on other topics. That's it. That is when you really understand why am I being shown only this stuff on Instagram? Like why am I being shown only these kinds of ads? And Instagram still is a free tool. That's a very big thing for advertising agencies. You can like free in the sense you have to pay for your ads, but it's not that much, dude. And like we all are just audience is literally free on it. So we have that option of choosing what kind of content we want to follow. Because the minute we press that follow button, we are committing our timeline, our feed to that kind of content. And honestly, I've had a mental breakdown because of social media last year is when I decided to go off social media and I was off for good 8 to 12 months because I kind of got addicted to it, dude. I would get like an adrenaline rush, like, oh, like this, that content, like, what is she doing? We've all been there. And that's when I realized, why am I still following this kind of stuff? It becomes meta, like, if you really think about it, like, why are you constantly going and listening to somebody who is just ranting about the bad things in their life? You will automatically start like putting that in yourself, like in your life sort of a thing. So you unfollow those things, and you always have that option. People always say, we don't like we the data is gone and like we're exposed and the computers are gonna like control everything. Google's going to control everything that we see, talk. We're scared is what it is because 4 years down the line, the way we live now, okay, 4 is also fine. Like 10 years down the line, the way we will live is going to be so different, and technology is going to be such a huge part of our life, whether we like it
I
or
think it
not.
already is. It already is.
Yeah. So we better, instead of like getting so existentially, like getting into the crisis of it, understand how to make it work for us. Because I think that's the point where we will really, in the true sense, evolve.
Yeah, I agree. So I'll actually pin this comment for a while. Shubhankar asks, what do you think about Pinterest for inspiration and ideas? Would that be considered copying?
No, because I'm an avid Pinterest
Pinterest,
junkie. Sorry.
same. I
I
have like
love
so many
Pinterest.
boards on it.
One of the reasons why I really like that platform is the way it is presented. I
Yeah.
mean, even if it looks very scattered, the
Yeah.
fact that, I have so many options to look at from the same content that makes me happy. But it's the same thing, dude. Like, you have to be original to yourself, no matter what you expose yourself out to. And don't limit your exposures. Because the minute you
Yeah.
start exposing yourself out to only one thing, you will naturally see it become you. So if you come to that, if you are that aware, and if you are, that true to yourself, that okay, you start realizing, am I copying this? Am I incorporating this way too much in my work? Read about something else. Think about something else. That's how so many streams of science and technology evolved. It's the amalgamation of two different topics.
Yeah.
So you have to be true to yourself. But yeah, I mean, I love Pinterest.
Yeah, Pinterest is great. But I've actually seen a lot of graphic designers lift stuff off of Pinterest and put them in creatives. And because I Pinterest so much, I can point it out and I was like, who picked this up from Pinterest? And I know,
Yes.
like,
And
it's terrible.
And honestly, I mean, I still know a lot of people who do that and claim to, have made that piece by hand. Low move, dude. Don't freaking do that. If you are incorporating, shout out to the artist where you originally got it from.
Yeah.
Important.
Yeah, I know a lot of restaurants who've done it, and there was this graphic designer who lifted off a Tame Impala album cover, which was, and he put it up, and I didn't realize it because at that point I'm not someone who looks at album covers. So I was like, actually, guys, and then my friend's like, yo, that's Tame Impala's cover. What the hell are you doing with that? Because he saw it on my phone.
Why? People will eventually find out.
It was so bad. My God, it was. And when I pointed it out, he was like, "No, I made this." And then I just opened the Google search and just pasted it out there. So it's horrible. But coming back to what we're actually, let's talk about freelancing a little bit. What do you think are the pros and cons of being a freelancer?
The obvious pro to being a freelancer is that you can choose what you want to do, unlike being an employee. Like you are with the company, you are set for the company. But when you're a freelancer, you can choose your project. Be it voiceover artist, be it graphic designer, you can always decide. But at the same time, there is no stabilization of income. It's what I have faced. And I'm realizing a lot of people have also faced this part. Where, okay, you're working on this big project now where you're getting paid in 10,000, 20,000, whatever. And suddenly you have no project. You don't know how to pay the bills to the end of the month. You don't know where, like what's happening. You suddenly start reaching out to these small time gigs, and that's how you fall down that particular spiral. So if people are working as a freelancer, I'd advise them to make themselves a brand. Treat yourself as a brand, like how you would approach a brand, how a brand would approach other people. That way, you can at least be a little thoughtful and systematic about lining up. Okay, see, this thing has never come to me. Like I've never been taught as a child by my parents to be systematic about things. I'm procrastinate half of the time. But these things it's like when you take responsibility for your work, it really shows. Like okay, you sit down for the starting of the month and plan it. Okay, I don't have a client now. I have a client here. This is my free time. What am I going to do? I have this much amount of money I need to get by the end of the month. How am I going to make things work for me for that particular amount? when you set your goal on a particular point, you find a way to do it. And I will give kudos to freelancers to do that because I'm sure they do that all the time.
Yeah.
They suffer, and that's the biggest learning that freelancers get. That's why they are so versatile. They come with so much experience on board. So yeah, I think that's the benefit.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. So, it also, when you talk about being a jack of all trades and master of none, one of my biggest fears in life is to be that. To, be a jack of all trades and master of none. Because I've tapped into so many things and as a view. So how do you introduce yourself to someone? When someone asks you, what do you do? How do you not have a nervous breakdown? Because I do. I was like, I don't know. At this point, I
Uh,
don't know. What do you do?
so I asked them in what in what do they want to know?
Yeah.
Because I came across the set of about it was about people with different potentials, and so therefore the term multi-potentialite seems from that particular TED talk. And even if you can Google that term, I'm sure that TED talk will pop up. And so this particular, I think, lady was talking about how during the Renaissance, this was the trend, where people would do 100 things and do good. Like they wouldn't just like put their hand in like one, two things and just say, and they do
Yeah.
like even if they're doing five things, they're good at it. And back
Yeah.
then they used to refer to these people as whole-rounded people. These people are like they're well-rounded sort of a thing. And eventually down the line, people started going into exploring, going into specializations, and then suddenly, because people fear that we will waste so much time doing 100 things, why do I not just stick to one? But then there are people who like to do 100 things. There are people who like to, our brains work very differently. Like if I'm focusing on one thing, I will want to focus on that thing. But if my brain gets stimulated by doing 100 other things, it helps me. And it's healthy till a point to do multitasking. It's really healthy till a point to have these multi potentials. Because you cannot get obsessed with one thing all your life. You cannot just think, I want to like paint, I fucking paint, I'm eating also paint, I'm sleeping. You can't do that. Like you have a life beyond it. So when I talk to them, when I approach them, I make it very clear that it's not a small thing for me. It's not hobbies per se.
Yeah.
This is something that I do for life, and this really makes your character.
Yeah. I get that. I usually tend to, go like, okay, tell me what you're asking me about. What, like, my skill sets or whether what I'm
Yeah,
studying or what I
yeah,
work at, because all of them are three very different things. Like, I'm
definitely,
not studying
definitely.
what I'm doing. I'm not, my work is not something I've actually studied. So
Hmm.
it gets very strange. So it's funny you mentioned the Renaissance because I want to. Something I've realized also is that a lot of people who haven't had any exposure to classical art. When I say classical, I mean like let's say Renaissance
Yeah.
painting or
Hmm.
stuff like what else can I think of?
Contemporary pieces.
Yes, contemporary pieces. So a lot of people have actually learned a lot more about them through memes.
Hmm.
Do you
Okay.
think
Yeah.
do you think that it is strange but in a good way or a bad way? I mean, I think it's strange that to think that you would actually learn, and I speak for majority of the people because I'm pretty certain majority of the people won't know the difference between let's say a modern art piece and a contemporary art piece or
Hmm.
a postmodern, not a modern, a
Hmm.
postmodern art piece. So, but then they can recognize it going like, okay, I saw this on a meme,
Hmm.
right? So,
Yeah. Not the other way around.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because
I get what you're saying.
yeah, because a little I know very little about it, and there's still artwork I discovered from memes personally.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So, what do you think about that? That we're a generation that's discovering these old classics through
Hmm.
memes.
Hmm. It's definitely resurfacing a lot, and
Yeah,
I'm kind of glad that this content is coming back. But it's very interesting to see that the cultural shift sort of take place, where initially the the mode, the tone of these pieces were very serious. If you even if you look at Renaissance art in general, the way they perceive painting for the matter of fact, a lot of paintings were almost they attempted to make it as close to the real object as possible because they were so dedicated to that particular thing. You know that if an apple looks a certain way or shines a certain way, it needs to be painted in that manner. And even in the society that we lived in back then, had those kind of rules, had those certain sort of norms and restrictions where Renaissance art usually originates from. They had a certain hierarchy in place, like something was like so that was in the culture where I would say till a point oppressed, till a certain point there was repression in that time, but it's so obvious, like you can see a proper kind of format going on in that compared to when expressionism came after that. It's modern cubism came. That is when people started taking streams into art. That's when they started exploring. So I am fond of it. It's interesting to me to see the classical meme, art meme. I think it originated from this Facebook page called Classical Art Memes, and then it trickled down into, I think, 9gag also has a platform now on classical memes. But it's very interesting to see how people, use that serious tone and kind of made it into a meme. It's really funny. But this I understand the level of this is because I have prior education in studying art history.
Yeah.
It might not be the same for somebody who does not know what the painting is or who is in the painting. What is the context behind it? And honestly, it's fine. I'm not saying that it's okay to defame somebody's work and make it extremely sexual or be like repulsive and not respect that person's work. But when you talk about memes, it's more on the light-hearted side, unless you're talking about. So, there's so much. Like, even when we talk about memes, there's dark humor, and then there's always this tone of sarcasm. That is what a meme is, right? It's built on the tone of sarcasm. So it's interesting to see how this stuff is resurfacing now. But I really doubt a lot of people are going back and researching, okay, where did this painting actually come from? Or what is the actual meaning behind this piece of work? We look at it, we feel like a sense of relatability, and then we laugh out about it. And that's the interesting part because that's where Renaissance, as an art movement, wanted to associate with the people because this is a picture of a person who looks like you or has similar features to you, be it in a different setting or clothes, but is in a situation where you would find yourself today, and they make it funny. So it's fun.
Yeah.
As long as they don't, really rip it out. Like I've seen so many adaptations of Van Gogh and of Mona Lisa, and there's this one particular meme where there's this girl walking by, and there's Van Gogh, and there's this other I think in the original meme it's his wife, and he's turning back and he's looking at this chick's bosom or something. And there's a replication of Van Gogh in it. So I don't know if it would be it would get controversial if those particular artists were alive yet. And then this entire copyright, all of this, stuff would come in. But see, that's the thing with art. The minute you make it free, the minute you make it common creators license, you see so much coming out of it. And I think that should be there. We should promote this sort of a culture of free sharing.
Yeah, I think we're still learning how to even promote that in the first place because we're trying to figure out what is mine, what am I okay with sharing and giving to someone else. Like even the whole idea of royalty-free images, I have thought about it so much. Like should I just put up my photos on Unsplash? Like maybe I could make something out of it, and then I'm questioning also that, but it's my photo, it's my work. But then I'm also questioning that whether someone will actually pay to buy it and use it. And if people do use it, will they credit me? I don't. But I get it. I think it's a process eventually. It really is. Have you come across the Stendhal syndrome?
No, can you elaborate on it?
So it's called the Florence syndrome.
Okay.
So it's basically a psychosomatic syndrome where when you see a piece of art, you get so overwhelmed by emotion
Okay.
that upon looking, let's say I'm looking at a painting, I would get so overwhelmed with emotion that I'll either start crying, or I'll faint, or I'll, start sweating, I'll feel dizzy, but mostly crying, or, feeling like this whole wave of emotion coming to you because you feel so connected to that piece of art. Like, for me, the most recent example of something like that happening was watching Above and Beyond in concert,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I fell to the floor because of that what these artists meant to me personally in my own life, and how I looked at them, and then watching them live after a really tumultuous day. It was a shit show for a day, that particular day, and I remember going in. I'm watching them, and then there's this moment where I just drop to the ground and I'm just howling and just in tears, and there's music blaring all around me, but my tears are a lot louder. So they also say that when you look at a particular painting, so they say that I think someone Stendhal, I don't remember his name, he went to Florence and he felt this.
Okay.
So that's how it started. So is there any art piece that evokes that emotion in you, or has anything happened like that so far?
I think Michelangelo has been a major influence in my art, the way I perceive my work, or the way I study my work. He sort of, the way he encaptured the delicacies of the skin
Yeah.
In a medium like marble,
Yeah.
And this marble used to be sourced from mountains, and then they used to put it in the truck, and then they used to get the marble down to the sculptor's studio, and then he would sit and chisel and sculpt. And back then they didn't have any machines, So just just two tools, the chisel and a hammer. And he used to hammer the hell out of that freaking sculpture to get that particular image out. And if you actually look at the sculptures that he's made, you can literally see the veins, like of the David. I think the sculpture is still in one of the chapters. You can literally see the intricacies in it, the amount of life he's trying to give to that object. And in a lot of his interviews, like in his stories, he's spoken about how he always already see the person inside the sculpture and not the other down. So he would always know that, okay, this is what is existing inside the stone, and I would chisel it out and it'll come to life. So his attention to details, his dedication to his work is something that has a lot of influence on me. But not like I literally look at so much. Like I've been looking at so many pieces of art. There's nothing that has yet struck that emotional chord in me where I want to just stand and look at it and start crying. Or I haven't experienced that so far yet. I hope that will come.
I'm sure it will, or I'm not sure if I've phrased myself right, because there's so let me give you another example with photographs. I was just making sure I got the name of the place right.
Can I just pause for a second here?
Yeah.
Can I just switch on the light, because I think
Go for
it's getting dark. Just give me a minute, yeah?
Even I'll do it. Even I'll do fairy lights. You want to see my cool fairy lights? I don't know if you can see it. It's so pretty. I love it.
Is this better?
Yeah, look at cool fairy lights. I'll send you photos later. Anyway, so coming back to, so there was this one photo I happened to see, and I just couldn't stop staring at it. It was this photo. Even if you look it up right now, if you look at a Russian soldier plays a deserted piano. So there's a grand piano in the middle of nowhere, and it looks like no war has taken place out there. And there's just this lone soldier standing out there and just playing the piano. And someone photographs him from the back. Let me try to show it to you. And it was so interesting to, watch. You see this? So I just couldn't stop staring at it. Must be gone. But yeah. So Is there something like that where you look at this piece of art and you just can't stop looking at it?
There is this piece by there's so many pieces, dude. Like it's really so hard. I'm just going down my memory lane. Okay, give me a second.
Yeah.
There's this piece by Monet,
Yeah.
right? And he's painted the water lilies.
Yeah.
And if you look at it up close, it will look like like smudges of like paint everywhere. But if you take a step back, you will understand the entire scene. And the way that particular piece is exhibited is not on a straight canvas. It's exhibited on a circular canvas. You're literally standing inside the scene. And I think that particular piece really brought to my attention that, a painting or an art piece is not made out of a huge space. You really have to like take that efforts to go up close to it, like touch the painting. If you ever get the chance to, understand why a stroke is put that way. I mean, Van Gogh, for an example, is also like a great explanation to the way he brought in expressionism, how he depicted the fundamentals of wind, turbulence. He is known to be the very first person to have come across this concept of turbulence through his
Really?
art, where you can clearly see his strokes of light, where they depict the wind. I mean, Starry Night is a very good example of it. So yeah, I think it's not just one piece, but yeah, I think Monet and Van Gogh's Starry Night have been. There's a certain sense of melancholy in Van Gogh's work, which does not really make you sad, but it makes you quiet. And I think that comes a lot because also of knowing the kind of background, he's had, his life story. Maybe that's why I kind of feel so like, I try to think about what he must be going through. Because there's this one particular piece where it's painted, it's a cafe. He's basically sitting outside of the cafe and he's painted the road of Venice and the rest of the cafe. And if for a normal viewer to look at that piece, he's like, okay, this is a busy cafe, this cafe. When you actually think about an artist sitting alone, painting something of this sort. So for me, as a subjective answer, it comes from knowing the artist's background. That is when I truly feel so moved,
Yeah, I get it. Okay, this was a lot of fun. We're reaching the end of the second hour. This was so wholesome and I learned so much from you. Thank you so much for coming on and agreeing to do this for me. And I hope you had a good time and
thank you so much for doing this.
Hey, thanks, man. I'm trying. Let's see how it goes. But yes, I will call you right after I stop streaming this and let's chat again. And I hope you guys watching, listening, whoever will watch later, I hope all of you had fun. That was Manasi Boyatkar, and check out her page. She is insanely good at what she does, and she is so collected. I learned today. You are so collected with your thoughts. I love it. It's brilliant. So yeah, but thanks for coming on so much, and I'm going to end this stream soon. So I will call you in a bit. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. So that was Mansi, and this was a really long one today. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you have any advice on how this can be better, if you really liked it, share it on your stories, please. Do that. And if you have any feedback about how this can be better, your entire viewing experience and listening experience could be better. If you have any questions you want to ask, and if you have any people you think I should bring on, let me know, and I will try to make that happen. And thank you to Aditya Rajput Music for helping me with recording this. Please send me that. And yeah.